Hi everyone, this is Dr. Alonso from Tiny City School. And today's segment in terms of webinar is the importance of technology and routines as it relates to the new normal. One of the things that I find fascinating is seeing how children love technology. You see children walking around with iPads, iPhones, computers, you name it. So why not use the current circumstances, the situations that we're all going through, to use the advances of technology to be able to help your child continue the norm, the structure, the routine, the consistency of their academics? Why? Research shows that children that do not keep up in terms of the same structure in comparison to their peers will fall behind. We see it time and time again when kids break for summer. Those that go to summer school versus those that don't tend to struggle in the beginning of the academic year. So, one of the things that I want to talk to you about is the importance of maintaining that set of structure for your child while we're going through these circumstances. Now, it may last another 2 to 3 weeks or whatnot, but if we keep a routine, what will happen is that once we go back to the normal, everything will just simply follow through. Everything will just simply mold through. Everything will just simply fall exactly where it needs to fall. Routines help children with daily living, and one of the things that is important to keep in mind is, for instance, we tell our child when to eat, when they have to brush their teeth, comb their hair, do their homework. What happens when we don't? The child loses that structure. So what do? They tend to just do whatever it is that gives them pleasure, whether it be watching television, playing video games, sleeping. That in itself is a problem. You know why? It's so interesting. Research shows that children like structure, they like routines. It makes them feel safe. Why? How is that possible? Because they know that although they don't want to do the homework, although they may not want to brush their teeth, there's a parent that is taking care of them and is responsible for their well-being. And that sense of having someone basically telling you what to do for your own good, although the child can at times be a little defiant or oppositional, they actually enjoy it. So it's important to keep that in mind. The routine helps the child understands between the balance of enjoyable tasks such as playing and functional tasks such as brushing your teeth. We're not only teaching them the responsibilities of what is to come, but we're keeping them in a system of checks and balances. Routines give infants and toddlers a sense of security and stability. It helps infants and toddlers feel safe and secure in their environment. And why is that? As I look at my notes, I look at statistics, and it shows that children that come from parents or family, that there's a certain structure as to what we do at a certain time, at a certain day, it gives them a sense of routine and consistency and safety. As if the child knows that on Tuesdays, I go with my parents and I play basketball. And they know that then on Fridays, we all get together for dinner. And then on Saturdays, we all go and jog. And then on Sundays, we go to church. Whatever the case may be, whatever structure, whatever plans the family has, when you keep it at a level of consistency, it gives the child a sense of identity. They know that everything is structured and safe. Routines can help also help the child understand time management. In other words, it helps the child use their time for what are chores, things that I have to do, and what is fun. So one of the things that I want to talk to you is how in circumstances such as this one, technology plays a vital role. And children have always loved running around, having fun with their friends, going here and going there. You always see them now with a cell phone, taking pictures of everything that they're doing, immediately posting it on Facebook or any social media platform. Before you know it, their friends are talking to them. How did you see this? How was it? We're living in a world that everything happens simultaneously. So why not keep that same structure right now while your child is at home? Not only is going to give them a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose by being able to continue doing the same thing that their peers are doing, but it's also give you a respite. So you can also allow yourself to sort of step back and allow your child to do their thing. Here at Tiny Cities, the teachers are not only providing every student every week with sort of a backpack that looks very similar to this, with an ID, so forth. All the assignments of the child's week. So, depending on the child's age and academic, uh, basically how many homework they're going to have, how many things they're going to do. So, in a combination between what they're doing scholastically and the teacher providing them classes through Zoom is going to be phenomenal. One thing to keep in mind is that children that find themselves doing similar things that as their peers, it gives them a sense of belonging. So by this child connecting to Zoom, seeing their teacher, by this child wearing their uniform, even at home, watching their peers at home wearing the same uniform, all in all, doing the same thing together, it gives them the necessary tools to be not only advancing, even during circumstances like this, but also it gives them a sense of purpose, as if I am doing the same thing that my peers are doing, and that is extremely important. Children love technology, you know that. So by incorporating technology into the educational perspective, it makes it fun. All of a sudden, it's not a punishment. All of a sudden, it's not a chore. It's almost as if I'm doing my schoolwork, but I'm having fun with it. One of the things that is important to keep in mind nowadays is how children engage with technology. They use a lot of video games, and video games are ideal for keeping them entertained. But video games also take away a lot of precious time that they can be using to not only do their homework, do physical activities instead of being sedentary, sitting at home in front of a computer on a couch. But a lot of times, such as this time, when they are able to use technology to see how they compare to themselves to other children, in other words, they see that things are a little different. They're at home with their parents instead of going to school, but yet they get to see their peers, their little best friend, sitting at their house as well, while they're all watching the same teacher doing the same responsibilities or the same activities. It's incredibly fun for them. So children that do not follow through, parents that feel that maybe this is not necessary, there will be consequences when they come back to school. Because in the lifetime of a child, actually let me do the comparison different. For an adult, a day flies by. A week goes like this. Not in a child's world. In a child's world, a day is an eternity. A week is forever. So whereas we see things happening rather quickly, the child does not. So what ends up happening is that the child little by little begins to fall behind. They begin to not follow the same protocol that their peers are. So all of a sudden, what do? They're staying up late, watching TV or playing video games. So therefore they sleep late. That right there breaks their sleeping routine. And God knows that there's a very important cycle of sleep that if you don't continue to follow, you will have consequences. What ends up happening is that children that do not continue the same protocol as their peers, little by little, it's not so much as forgetfulness, it's as the fact that it's more that you did not practice something enough, so therefore there isn't enough practice, therefore there isn't enough memorization, so therefore instead of retaining that information that the child just learned in school, it almost evaporates. Learning comes from repetition. Learning comes from doing the same thing over and over, getting better and better at it. So those parents that think that perhaps this is a good time for the child just to relax and play, not a good idea. Not a good idea from a mental health perspective, not a good idea from an academic perspective, because what's happening is the child is going to fall behind in comparison to those other students that are actually keeping up. As simple as drawing, as simple as painting. You may say, well, but it's not that difficult. If they don't draw at home, they'll draw when they get back to school. Not quite. That sense of repetition, that sense of consistency, that sense of routine makes the child more apt to be able to continue doing the exact same thing once they come back to school. If they don't, it's not that they're going to forget how to draw. No, it's just that they're not going to feel comfortable in that particular activity. They're going to be fidgeting, they're going to be looking around, they're going to be wondering what's going on while everybody else is simply following through. One thing to keep in mind is the development of children as it compares to their peers. When they did research for the Head Start, they compared children that had gone to Head Start or preschool or pre-K, depending on the state that you're in. And they did research comparing those children to those that simply went to a summer program where all they did was, let's say, pool, playing, and whatnot. At the beginning of the year, when they did pop quizzes, when they did assessment, evaluations, those children that had gone to a Head Start or preschool or whatnot, those children that basically had an intervention, some type of educational or a scholastic intervention, they tend to do better academically than in comparison to their peers. And that research can easily be found online if you look at the comparison of Head Start to those that did not attend. So how does that compare to now? How does that compare to this 2, 3, or 4 weeks that children are not here in their academic setting? It makes a huge difference, because what happens is the child begins to fall behind by simply not following the daily protocol or their daily routine. From as simple as brushing their teeth, all of a sudden, if they don't do it for 2 to 3 days, all of a sudden they begin to forget. The same thing happens with academics. So one of the things that is important is that they love technology. They enjoy watching things through a computer or some form of screen. These are just a few examples of ways that they enjoy having fun. So not only is mobile learning highly engaging, they enjoy that interaction. It also provides the children with a novel ways of relating their physical experience to those of their peers. They feel connected. They feel a sense of belonging. They see that they, although they're at home with their parents, their friends are still there. They're not gone and forgotten. Remember, these are children. They don't think like you and I. They use a lot of fantasy in order to create their own sense of the world. But when you actually put it in perspective, by them being able to see their friends in a platform such as Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, however it is, even though here we're using Zoom, which is an excellent platform, it gives them a sense of belonging. All of a sudden they feel that they want to contribute because they want to be like the other kids, doing the same activity, advancing. They're all wearing their cute, adorable uniform, and they're seeing their teacher, and it keeps them entertained. It keeps them up to date. It keeps them in a sense of, I am important because look at my other friends doing the exact same thing too. How is mobile learning changing the way that we educate our children? Very, very incredible. The smart board, used to be called the blackboard or the green board, has made huge advances. Well, mobile learning has done the same thing too. Now children are sitting in front of their computers, focusing their attention on solving problems that the computer or that the teacher using that platform is giving them. It makes them feel important. Just the simple fact that they get to see someone that they recognize, that teacher, in a computer, telling them how to continue doing whatever it was that they were doing in the school setting, now also at home, in the home setting. And it gives them a sense of love. It gives them a sense of connection. It gives them a sense of importance. An advantage of learning in mobile often becomes motivated by simply engaging the child with whatever it is that they enjoy. That's exactly what Tiny City is doing. They're using Zoom for this next few weeks, however length of time it takes for this to come to an end, using the assignments, the exercises that they're getting in their book bag. In terms of being able to continue, what ends up happening is there's a part of the brain that is responsible for memory. It's the hippocampus. I'm not going to get into the details of the anatomy of the brain, but I will say to you that when the hippocampus is not used, when you do not really exercise that part of the brain, even though as a child it takes a long time for that to happen, but even then, it still makes a huge difference. So what ends up happening is that children fall behind. Even We see it in the normal school setting when a child is absent 1, 2, 3 days, depending on their academic level. It takes a toll. In children, in toddlers, in infants, it takes even a greater toll because for them, one day is a lot longer than in the life of a teen. A teen, one day is a lot longer than in the life of an adolescent. And in the life of an adolescent, one day is a lot longer, but even for an adult, it doesn't make sense. It goes like this. So, several researchers have suggested that we have entered an area of technology enhanced by mobile learning. And it's incredible. The research is showing that when you apply an academic setting, such as a school setting, as we do here at Tiny City, as well as mobile learning in circumstances such as this one, it keeps everything together. It keeps everything flowing. The difference is going to be very simple. Those children that have continued and maintained a successful routine, a successful academic structure, even while being at home during this 2 to 3 weeks situation that the schools are semi-closed, as they compare to other children that do not do anything, that simply just enjoy the free time, you're going to see the difference. It's going to be a vast difference, especially in the very few weeks returning back to school. So what do I tell parents? So important. So important. The structure that you give your child, the routine that you apply to your child while they are at home now by using this tool available to you through Tiny City, using Zoom and using the information in this book bags, using the assignments, the homework, is going to keep them not only entertained, it's going to give them a sense of structure and routine, very similar than the one they were having here in school before. It's going to also give them a sense of belonging because they get to see the same teacher that they got to see every day at school. It's going to give them a sense of belonging because they get to see the same students, their friends, their peers. Little Johnny, little Susie, they're there in the screen just like me, watching the same teacher, and we're all collaboratively doing this whole thing together. It's wonderful. Please do not allow your child to fall behind. This 2 to 3 weeks will make a huge difference. You don't want a child that becomes frustrated, irritable when they come back to school and they see that they are different in terms of their learning as it compares to their peers. I don't want kids to come back and feel less than their friends because they're not able to keep up with whatever it is that they're doing. I want children to come back and remember this whole experience not as a trauma, but as something that was wonderful. They were able to continue their academics even still while at home. So going back to the importance of structure, going back to the importance of routine, going back to the importance of your child being able to understand that everyday events and procedures have consequences. That if we stay at home and all we do is play video games or sleep or watch TV or YouTube, it's going to have consequences in comparison to those children that, whether they did the assignments in the morning or they did the assignments in the afternoon, however which protocol they follow, however developmentally where they are in terms of academically, the comparison is going to be vast. So again, I go back and I always ask parents, what are some of the things that you find more difficult teaching your child? And they tell me setting limits, homework, being able to follow orders, pay attention. This is the time to continue doing those things. We cannot slack. We cannot fall behind and say, well, the fact of the matter is that they're at home. It's free for all. They're just here on a vacation. No, this is not a vacation. This is not summer. And the truth of the matter is that the structure that we provide our children right now is going to make a difference in how they continue their academic progress once we come back, which hopefully, God willing, will be within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Routines give infants a sense of structure, knowing that at certain times, even they can't tell time, things happen. So whether they're an infant, a toddler, a child, it needs to follow the same process. That is extremely important. I want to mention something else before we come to an end. That as I was getting together for this presentation, I was looking at some of the research, and I was surprised to see how well children are doing using technology from an academic perspective. And it's incredible how you can see the advances of how technology have skyrocketed. You can see the advances of technology going up, and you also see the same thing happening with the child's intelligence. In other words, there is some type of correlation between technology and the intelligence of a child when used appropriately. Not when used playing video games, not when used to simply just shoot the breeze and just sit there and just watch a video of something. No, when it's interactive from an educational, academic, scholastic perspective, they are able to see that things continue even when they're not in the classroom setting. They're able to see how their friends are still engaging. It gives them a sense of belonging. It gives them a sense of identity. And going back to the comparison that I just made, how the more advances we get in terms of technology, the same way we see children, because they become more engaged. To them, it's the norm. That's why you give a child a phone or any type of technology nowadays, and they're able to play with it without even reading the instructions. So let's use that technology. Let's use that magic to get your child to continue advancing academically, to get your child to follow a routine, a protocol that is going to have wonderful and serious repercussions. It's in how they adapt and how they become, once they come back to school, how they become enmeshed back in the same routine. So, parents, take advantage of the wonderful advances of technology. Take advantage of the fact that here at Tiny City, they're doing anything and everything possible to make sure that your child does not fall behind, that your child continues with the same progress that they've been during the last few months, during the last few years, so that by the time all of this comes to an end, your child is as prepared and as advanced academically as the rest of the peers, not just here in Tiny City, but in comparison to their friends that attend other schools. To me, this is paramount, and to me, this is setting a precedent that a school such as Tiny City, caring for children so little, are still so innovative that they're coming up with programs and plans and protocols like this, so that your child, even while at home, does not fall behind, so that your child, even while at home, continues to thrive. I want a child to not have to come back in and try to survive academically. I want them all to continue to thrive. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the very near future. That being said, take advantage of this blessing. Follow the protocol. Let the teachers do their job. Do not intervene. Take advantage of that opportunity, that they're learning something, that they're sitting there, that I want you to monitor them, to supervise them while they're on the computer, watching Zoom, watching their teachers, listening to the teachers' instructions and directions as they look at their peers. Let the teachers do their job. Let the teachers take the mandate. Do not take away from the teacher's ability to encourage the child to do their job. Let that little family that has structure and settled since they were here continue even through this whole technological forum. Let them do their thing, student, teacher, peers, and you take that opportunity as a little respite to back off, to do whatever it is you need to do, but at the very same time, give your child the blessings that you need to give them by encouraging them to do this, to do it well, and to continue to do it and be consistent. So that being said, this is a blessing for everybody. Take advantage of it. It will make a difference when we come back to school as to how they compare to their peers. You want your child to excel. You've always wanted your child to be number one. This is an important, more than you can imagine, opportunity to make sure that your child does not fall behind, to make sure that your child continues to progress, and to make sure that your child feels a sense of security by following a protocol that gives them a sense of security, a sense of structure. Thank you so much, and good luck.